Hi there, my name is Kimberly Simons, and I am going to be presenting to you the project proposal titled Enhancing Excellence, a Comprehensive Employee Engagement Initiative. On today's agenda, we'll be discussing the needs and evaluations of discrepancies, implementation of permanent and dedicated staff, education and workplace competencies, equipment and resource updates, as well as the project description, budget, evaluation, and conclusion. So first up, the main need is here, kind of covers all three of the needs. Is first, before you implement any new changes, you must evaluate the needs of a facility and the areas of improvement. In lieu of a recent annual state survey, our company did suffer some pretty great tags for some different various things regarding patient care, documentation, and also some, just policy and regulation things, as far as like what you can and can't do, where you can put things, where you can't put things, things like that. So we collectively, as a company, need to go ahead and identify those discrepancies, improve them, educate around the areas, and, kind of continue to evaluate to ensure that those things don't happen again. So another need here we have is implementation of permanent and dedicated staff. This, I think, is probably one of the most important parts of this project. Statistically, permanent staff, meaning nurses who are planted in their community, live in the community, and are employed for over a year or more, they all tend to have a more grounded and dedicated outlook on their workplace. They tend to get involved with education or deeper into patient care. With travelers, as you know, they're very temporary. They kind of float in and they float out, and they do fill a very good need that we do have in the company as far as staffing. However, it is important that your permanent staff does feel valued, which means we need to pour into those permanent staff members more, and hopefully that will not only retain and flip turnover, but would also draw in other permanent staff. So some ideas regarding this, always kind of do revolve around, is a company exercising professional standards? What does a company set the stone for? That will always make an employee feel honored because they're going to start to operate at that professional standard and just as well. Offering a sign-on bonus to new and prospective staff is a good way to help bring people in, but along with that, we need to have a good vetting process as far as professionalism, interviews, and things like that. We don't want to waste money on staff that's going to stick around for just a lot of time on the sign-on bonus and then take off. Positive benefits, good amount of time off, accrual. Sometimes even that means right now our system for benefits and CTO operates off accrual, but sometimes people do like to have that in the annual fiscal year. You do re-up the benefits, but that's something we can discuss further down the line. Maybe after the annual evaluation, after this project is initiated, we could maybe look into that next year. Staff always does also want to know how they can grow professionally. Nobody likes to stay stagnant, or most people don't like to stay stagnant. So creating an environment where or staff members feel like they are able to advance in their career, and just keep educated and keep pouring into themselves gives them a purpose where they are at the workplace. Here is a table that helps to explain better employee satisfaction. So up in the left-hand corner, it says nurturing nurse retention and satisfaction, a vital strategy for healthcare facilities. This is a perfect model to show, like, how do we get people in the door to become permanent staff? Then how do we retain them? How do we keep them? These modules here show a perfect algorithm to, getting people to stay. So if you wanted to look at this a bit heavier on your own time, I'll just go over some of the bullets here. You want to enhance work environment, flexible scheduling, that always keeps people happy. Competitive compensation. So you want to make sure that, the same kind of company, we're in long-term care here, so there's several facilities around. You want to make sure that your bonuses, your benefits, your wages, they are all at least in a competitive group. Nobody is, it's a pain in the butt to have to change jobs. So as long as you're in that ballpark and nurses are happy here, you will retain them. Career advancement, we kind of touched on that a minute ago about feeling like you have professional growth within the workplace. Effective communication. Nurses and any medical multidisciplinary team operate solely off of effective communication. So this is very important. If there is no communication in a workplace, there is definitely going to be some unhappy nurses. This is something that we definitely could work on here quite a bit. And then lastly, you're going to want to recognize and reward. There's all kinds of awards or recognition exercises or things that we can do to show appreciation for nurses that are working and operating under excellence. And just as well, the more that your employees strive for excellence, it actually will open up doors for the facility to start to receive recognition and awards, which not only bring in funding, but they also reflect well on nurses that do operate under that excellence. So this is kind of like comes full fold. It's really just really great to implement the recognition and reward system. So the next need here revolves around education and workplace competencies. We as a collective company, especially in lieu of the discrepancies we just received, need to evaluate current knowledge of the facility. What are the needs that are in the gaps that we see in knowledge? Such as, CPR training. What are the real steps? What are the real policies that we have as a facility? What is our own policy and procedure for codes such as this or any kind of critical scenarios? Education strategies such as, documentation, correct documentation. Where are you documenting? What are you documenting? How are you documenting? Especially as progress notes, things like that with patients. We need to make sure that effective documentation really is key here, in also reimbursement for the company, but also, if a scenario happens, a critical situation, you want to make sure that documentation is really done correctly. The company, it seems may need to look into some new utilization of curricular resources, so maybe some new, educational programs, things like that. And the biggest nursing value when we are teaching patients and families about what needs to be done at home after discharge is the teach back method, and we need to implement that also into the nurses. Do not any longer sit nurses in front of a seminar on the computer for 8 hours and then expect them to know exactly what went on in those 8 hours without asking them to exercise or teach back what they just learned. No one learns like that. So yeah, we really need to revamp our educational system, and bring those workplace competencies in this level up. Equipment and resource updates. So this is also pretty important. No one wants to have to work in an environment or atmosphere where their equipment just does not work properly. If we would like nurses to operate professionally, and we need accurate data collected for our patients, we do need updated equipment. So if you look, let's see, on page 6, there's a really detailed explanation of the equipment that we do need, and this exists as new thermometers, vital signs machines, and code cards, and supply organization and efficiency. This is also something that goes along with education. There's lots of missing parts to the current code cards, excuse me. And we do need to go through, educate on how these carts need to be restocked when they're used, but also, they need to be gone through and made sure expiration dates are accounted for and replaced as needed. So real education for running those code carts is also very key, but also finding an effective code cart with plenty of room, plenty of organizational ability to categorize things in a professional manner. And then medication carts, a lot of them are beginning to get stuck in the drawers. One in particular does not lock anymore. These are really important, especially for the tags that we just got from the annual survey. So, and we'll talk budget in a couple slides. All right. So the project description, we are here to discuss, reconfigure, and focus. And then we all work towards that overall goal of increasing patient satisfaction as well as employee satisfaction. How will all of this solve the problem? Well, improvement of patient health outcomes leads to successful outcomes with team collaboration, employee satisfaction, and retainment. For the company, this means increased company ratings, decreased negative marks, and as a result of discrepancies. But in addition to that, word of mouth and community, that we're going to start to hear about how great this place is to work, how great our patients are cared for here, and then we'll, start getting more and more referrals. This just brings in more funding for what we're doing and more compensation as we are able to earn new state programs where we can qualify for those with greater levels of excellence. So in all, this really, and not only that, but it does save the company money, because if you have happy nurses, you have happy employees, your patients are being cared for the way that they're supposed to be, and if patients or if nurses are educated on and really, really honed in on the expectations of this company as it comes to patient care, our number of positive patient outcomes is just going to increase, and we're going to spend less on these discrepancies such as increased wounds, or maybe patient falls or things like that. We're going to have less grievances, things like that. So it's really important that we do implement these things, because it really does collectively benefit the company as a whole, as well as everyone else. It just creates just such a great environment. Okay, so the scary budget. Here we are. So, this is an $875,000 calculated cost proposal. However, at least more than and almost even the full amount actually is just reallocated money from what we would take away from the very large wages of travel staffing, and reallocating that to the wages of permanent staff, which even still is not quite as much as what one visiting traveling nurse would make. So I've accounted for $100,000 per annual fiscal year for each employee. Obviously, it will be a little bit less, most oftentimes, maybe some more depending on overtime. However, it gives a bit of wiggle room, and you might even be able to add on one more permanent staff member within this budget. So $700,000 is allocated to that. 70 of the 875, 70K is also allocated for $10,000 sign-on bonuses, where they would sign a bonus and they would receive $2,500 quarterly, which would equal $10,000 by the end of the year. That's just meaning like then we know at least we have a permanent staff member for a year. Materials and equipment, it was just shy of 50,000, so we always want to mark up. The project team wages and time and resources allocates about $25,000, as well as the existing training staff. So the increased education and professional growth, that kind of falls under that category. And $5,000 to utilize new or improved educational resources. So, the project overview. We want to promote efficiency, quality of care, and improve working conditions. Improve patient quality of care and decrease the ratio of staff turnover and promote team-based environments. To the right, there are some statistics as it pertains to nurses and the actual impact they can have positively on patient care and outcomes. And conclusion, happy nurses equal happy patients. This rings true on any level, that if nurses do feel cared for, they're apt to perform their best work just like any other profession. But we're dealing with human lives, and I am not saying that unhappy nurses might not, care for their patients well. That's definitely not true. But there's a greater instance of statistical improved patient outcomes when the staff is taken care of, happy, and it really just benefits everyone. So this is the budget proposal. This is the project proposal. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out now. You can also reach me here at my email, kimberly.simons@genesishcc.com, and you may also reach me by my direct extension, 775-6413. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen, and I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you. Together we can make a change.